Hello, it's Adrian Faricelli, and today I would like to talk about the 5 rules of shaping. First of all, what exactly is shaping? Shaping is a training method that is used to train dogs some quite complex behaviors. So the number 1 rule is determine if you really need shaping. So ask yourself, does the behavior occur spontaneously? If so, you might want to try a different training method such as capturing. For example, if you want to train your dog to take a bow on cue, you might want to use capturing, which means that you're going to be clicking and rewarding the spontaneous behaviors as they occur, such as when your dog does a play bow. And the other question is the behavior likely to occur in its final form? Then you might want to try perhaps prompting. For example, if you want to train your dog to pick up something from the floor, you might get that behavior easily by just pointing. So the rule is use shaping if you're trying to train complex behaviors that are unlikely to occur in their final form. Rule number 2, use a conditioned reinforcer. Why do we need a conditioned reinforcer in shaping? In shaping, we want to use a conditioned reinforcer because it helps us inform our dogs that they have performed a desired behavior that is going to generate reinforcement. What are some classical examples of conditioned reinforcers in dog training? A common example is the click of your clicker or your verbal marker yes. Whichever you choose to use, make sure that you had it conditioned with a primary reinforcer, food, in a process that is known as charging the clicker. Rule number 3, develop a shaping plan. In order to develop a shaping plan, you want to create a list of approximations of the final behavior. A good way to generate this list is by simply watching a video of a dog performing the behavior. Also, don't forget to have a backup plan containing sub-approximations, which are simply smaller steps in case your dog gets stuck. Stay tuned for a future video on how to develop a shaping plan. Rule number 4, increase criteria. Shaping involves differentially reinforcing successive approximations of the final behavior. What does it mean to be differentially reinforcing? It simply means that we will be reinforcing and therefore strengthening criterion behaviors, and we will also be extinguishing and therefore weakening the non-criterion behaviors. Now, a unique aspect of shaping is that after a desired approximation has occurred a number of times, it's time to raise criteria. So this behavior approximation should be extinguished and the next reinforcement should be contingent upon the next closer approximation. This means that we will be reinforcing progression and not retrogression. So for sake of an example, let's imagine that we're training a dog to place 2 paws inside a box. So we will be initially clicking and rewarding the dog for simply looking at the edge of the box. Then, if we're lucky and the dog happens to look inside the box, we might click and reward that, and that's good because that means that we are progressing. But what happens if we are actually clicking and rewarding the dog initially for looking at the edge of the box, then the dog looks inside the box and we click and reward that, but then the dog goes back to looking at the edge of the box. If we were to click that, we will be reinforcing retrogression and not progression. Rule number 5, prevent frustration or giving up. While it's true that when we are shaping, we want to reinforce progression and not retrogression, there's an exception to this rule, and that's when dogs are giving signs of being frustrated or giving up. What should we do if our dog is struggling? We have several options, and one of them is to perhaps we can split the approximation into a sub-approximation, or we can lower criteria, basically take a step back and make reinforcement contingent again on a previous approximation, Or if our dog is really struggling, we can even use a prompt just to jumpstart things. So here's a final tip. If your dog is stuck and struggling and you wish to regain momentum by taking a step back and perhaps reinforcing a pre-risk approximation, do so intermittently. Basically what happens is that when you reinforce the dog on an intermittent schedule, this might prompt sometimes a new behavior, and this will hopefully lead to progress. As seen, when you are shaping, you might find yourself going back and forth, and this is why you want to have a shaping plan. As Joseph J. Pear from the book The Science of Learning claims goes a long way. He says, shaping is generally done in an intuitive manner. Hence, shaping is frequently said to be an art rather than a science. Please like us and subscribe for more fascinating dog discoveries.